Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce, and we are very proud and very honored to partner with the City of Thousand Oaks to present this webinar, Together We Can Serve. And I'd like to introduce our presenting speaker for today, Dr. Helen Cox. Dr. Helen Cox is the Sustainability Division Manager for the City of Thousand Oaks, a position she's held for the past 5 years since leaving Cal State University Northridge, where she was director of the Institute for Sustainability and a professor for 16 years. Dr. Cox leads waste, recycling, water conservation, energy, and climate change programs for the city. Thank you, Dr. Cox, for joining us today, being our presenter. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Together We Can Serve, presented by the City of Thousand Oaks. Dr. Cox?
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate this opportunity for the city to partner with the Chamber and present this important information. And welcome to everybody who's joined us today. This will be recorded so that people who are unable to attend can listen at a later time. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen here so that we can follow through. Three really important messages that I want to get across today. If nothing else, please take these messages home. Firstly, we are in an extreme drought, and we do have a severe water shortage emergency that we need to address. The most efficient way of addressing that is to stop watering grass. Unfortunately, that means that lawns here are turning to be a golden color, and that lawns may be a thing of the past, but we do ask everybody to stop watering your lawn. It's the most effective way to reduce water use. And the third message I want to get across is that all the information about our water restrictions, about irrigation, everything else that you need to know about this can be found on our dedicated website at toakswater.org. So I first just wanted to start by telling you a little bit about where our water comes from. So we don't have a local water supply. We're supplied by something called the State Water Project. This water source is in the northern Sierra Nevada mountains. The snowmelt from those mountains runs off into a reservoir, Lake Oroville, second largest in the state, was built to secure the supply, stores the snow melt, and then feeds it or goes into the river through Sacramento and the Feather Rivers through the Bay Delta and into the California aqueduct, from where it's pumped through into the Southern California region. This system as a whole is known as the State Water Project, and it's operated by the state, and Metropolitan Water District contracts with the state to purchase, deliver, and treat the water from that for 19 million people in Southern California. We are one of those communities that's served. Our community is served by Callegas Municipal Water District, purchases the water from Metropolitan and brings it to our region, where they deliver it to our 3 local water purveyors, who are the City of Thousand Oaks, Cal-Am Water Service, Water Company, and California Water Service, in addition to other Ventura County agencies that are served from this project. So why are we in an emergency? Well, the state has seen its driest 3 years on record, the last 3 years, 2020 through 2022. And you'll see what Lake Oroville looked like in 2019 compared to what it looked like. Actually, this was from last year. We've had the driest 3 months, first 3 months of the year ever, the driest January through March. You may remember that we had a wet December, and so there was sort of hope that we would have a wet year and be able to replenish our supplies. That did not happen. We had the driest spring ever. And as a result of that, the state cut back the water allocation to Metropolitan to the lowest ever allocation that the region, the Southern California region, has had from the State Water Project. So as a result of that, Metropolitan MWD took action at the end of April to restrict watering in the region to 1 day per week. Callegas followed suit, and at the end of May, the Thousand Oaks City Council followed suit also declaring what's called a level 4 water shortage. So the city has something called a water shortage contingency plan, which is a set of measures designed to save different levels of water savings, or accomplish different levels of water savings, from up to 10% to greater than 50%, depending what stage of savings are required. So we moved forward with what we call a level 4, which is designed to accomplish up to a 40% savings. In actuality, we're trying to achieve a 50% savings, but this is our starting point, as it's the one that was most closely aligned with the restrictions that were being imposed on the city from Metropolitan and then Callegas. So why the focus on the 1 day a week watering and the outdoor watering use? What you'll see here is a graphic that depicts the breakdown of our water use on average. So the average use in the city is approximately 175 gallons per capita per day, and that is over the entire year. And of that 175 gallons, approximately 120 on average are used outdoors and the other 55 indoors. So clearly, if we're going to accomplish large savings, we need to be focused on our outdoor water use. As I mentioned, we're trying to achieve a 50% cut in that annual use. In actuality, we've been given targets each month, since there's a seasonal fluctuation in the amount of water usage per month. Our targets will change from one month to the next, but over the year, we're trying to save approximately 50%. Oh, sorry. So let's talk about what some of those restrictions are. And you're probably familiar with these. So we have a 1 day a week watering restriction, and that day has been assigned. We've tried to get consistency across the 3 different water agencies in the city. And that means that we've assigned Saturday for watering for odd numbered street addresses and Sunday for even numbered street addresses, or for those properties that have no address, for example, a parkway or an HOA, etc. There is no watering in the heat of the day between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. So the 1 day a week watering should take place between midnight and 8 a.m. and between 6 p.m. and midnight on that same day. And we are restricting watering to low volume or low flow irrigation. In other words, that would be drip or subsurface irrigation. And this is because that's the most efficient. It reduces the amount of water that evaporates, and it delivers the water directly to the root of the plant zone. There is an additional day of watering on Wednesdays that's been allocated to keep public recreation areas with their turf for play areas at schools and daycare and parks, the fairways and the greens on golf courses. There's also additional watering allowing for vegetable beds, and in some cases for keeping vegetation alive on steep slopes where it's required for slope stability, and special conditions for fuel modification zones, which are mainly managed by HOAs. In addition to those citywide water restrictions, the state has imposed emergency regulations which issue a complete ban on watering of all what's called non-functional turf at commercial, industrial, and institutional sites. And those would include HOAs. So that means that there's no watering of any turf at commercial properties unless that's a public park recreation use, in which case those entities would need to apply to the city or to the water agency for a waiver in that case. Some of the other requirements that came in under the level 4 restrictions include that there's no washing down of hard or paved surfaces, so no power washing of driveways, etc. No hosing down of artificial turf and other hard surfaces. Pools must be covered when they're not in use. So if they're not in use during the day, they should be covered 24/7. If they're used, for example, at the weekends, it can be left uncovered during the daytime, but they should be covered overnight. There isn't permitted to be draining and refilling of pools or spas, though newly built, newly constructed pools are allowed to be filled at this time. If people need to drain a pool for a leak repair, then there is a process whereby they would just apply to the city for an exemption to be allowed to do that. In addition, running water features are not permitted, so fountains, ornamental ponds, etc., where there's flowing water and there's loss obviously there from evaporation. You cannot use potable water to top up those features. And car washing is only permitted at commercial facilities since they use recycling. They recycle their wash water to be used on other vehicles. The city did allocate a 2-month grace period, which expires at the end of July, for people to transition from traditional spray sprinkler systems to low volume, low flow drip systems. So the city is served by 4 different water purveyors. Camrosa just serves a very small district to the north of the city. Primarily the city is served by the blue area, the City of Thousand Oaks Water Service, and then the orange area here, Cal-Am Water Company, and in the Westlake area, that would be Cal Water Service. We have been meeting regularly with the other water agencies, trying to align restrictions and conditions across those agencies. The city ordinance, these restrictions do apply across all the agencies. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing for residents because they may be getting somewhat different messaging from different service providers. That's because the other service providers also use a messaging system that's not necessarily tailored so much locally as the city is able to do that. But in any case, the city's water restrictions apply throughout. And so we've had lots of questions about how we're enforcing these restrictions. We're doing our very best to enforce them fairly, equitably across the whole city. We have been raising awareness through outreach campaigns, through our website, through social media, through Acorn ads, etc. So and we did send letters to every resident and every business that's in our service area. So our first effort has been definitely on trying to educate and provide outreach on what those restrictions are. When violations occur, and this is when we have city staff, or we have a hired patrol service also that's helping with enforcement. When there are observations of violations, then those will be notated in our system. We have a GIS tracking system, which we are marking these violations, for example, and tagging them to specific properties. The resident or business at that property will receive a door hanger wherever that's feasible. And at the least, they will receive a letter in the mail notifying them that a violation has been observed. So this first is just a warning. There's no fine associated with that. If violations are observed subsequently, then the same thing would happen. They would receive a door hanger and a letter, but this time it would be accompanied by a fine of $100, and subsequent violations occur then there will be escalating fines. Hopefully we will not get to a 5th violation. If that happens, that's the point at which there could be a flow restrictor, which would actually limit the water flow pressure to that property to prevent irrigation from happening. Currently, we're in the stage where we have just begun issuing the 2nd violations or the 1st fines that have occurred in the city. So we have this mapping and tagging system. In addition, sometimes residents do report their observations. The city does not cite people with a violation if we are not able to observe that ourselves. In that case, there would be outreach conducted and those residents would receive a door hanger to alert them that violations have been observed and just to educate them on what the restrictions are. So what can you do and how can you help? Well, the first thing that you can do is to learn the water restrictions and to help spread the word. As I said, the drought is severe. This is a real water shortage. If we don't save enough water, if we don't meet our target as a region, then there's a possibility of a ban occurring, a complete outdoor watering ban occurring as soon as September the 1st. So that's why we're all scrambling to get the word out and to try to get the maximum compliance so that we can meet the target and avoid outdoor watering ban. And this is all in preparation for the future so that we can try to save enough water for our parks, for recreation, and to keep our trees alive. That's really our primary goal, is to be able to keep those long-term investments secure and to provide recreational opportunities for the community. So the one-stop resource for drought information, as I mentioned, is our website at toakswater.org. There are also resources to help people to convert to drought-tolerant, climate-appropriate native gardens, and this would be primarily the master gardeners of Ventura County. Have some great classes. They have chat features. They have experts available to help guide people on appropriate plants, so they are a great resource for everybody. We are not advising people to replant their lawns at this point, or to do any replanting really with the current water conditions and climate. It's really better to wait until this immediate emergency has passed to do plantings for the future, but we would hope to encourage the community at large to transition to more appropriate plantings. To help you do that, there are rebates available. The website bewaterwise.com is your main resource for this. There is a rebate of up to $3 for turf replacement to replace your lawns with something more appropriate. As I mentioned, we're not encouraging that replacement to happen right now. You could get the rebate for a future replacement, though you would need to design what that future landscaping is going to look like. There are also rebates for appliances, for irrigation controllers, etc. One thing we've been asked is how people know their water use and how they're saving it. Right now, residents are billed bi-monthly, commercial is monthly. So that's how often you would get your water from the city agency. There are plans to try to increase that frequency in the future. We're in the process of exploring that option. If you want to know more on a more granular basis what your water use is, there are some monitors available, and here I've just flagged in this website under available rebates. You'd go down to where the flow monitor devices are down here, and there is a choice there. There's one in particular called Flume that we've been recommending because it doesn't require any plumbing. You can strap it onto your water meter yourself. It has a phone app and you can get your water use by the week, day, hour, minute. You can see how much each of your irrigation circuits or zones is using. So if you like that kind of data, that's a great resource. One change that will be coming up is at the beginning of September, we are mandated by Metropolitan to reduce the 15-minute watering limit down to 10 minutes. And also before the end of August, there should be a decision from Metropolitan on whether there would be a complete ban on outdoor watering, which obviously we're hoping to avoid. So with that, I just wanted to highlight our webpage again. We also have a drought hotline that's there at the bottom. You can use this number to reach our sustainability division, who's available to answer any of your questions on the water restrictions. You can also use our Public Works admin number. Well, it's the same number, sorry. There's a different option there to call and ask questions about violation letters, door hangers, citations, etc. And you can reach our water ops staff if you have questions there about leaks, etc. And so that's a good phone number to note. And also, as I said, there's our contact information here. Just to let you know where we are right now, in June, we reduced our water use by about 30% over what the previous 2 Junes use. We still have a long way to go. We're still about 30% above what our limit has been set at, our target. So some good work, good progress made, but some ways to go. Okay, with that, I will end and throw this open for questions. Thank you.
There's one from a guest, Marka. It says, can you please apply pressure to key state officials to reallocate water from environmental, which receives 51% of total allocations, to the current 11% for urban? All water use for urban, commercial, and industrial is only 11%, 39% goes to agriculture. What is being done to add water captivity to reduce the amount of water that currently runs into the ocean?
So there are various reasons that water has to be allowed to run into the ocean. Some of it is to prevent the inundation of seawater into the Delta region, because we need to preserve that as a freshwater resource. So it's important that water can flow out. Without that, we can contaminate the entire state's freshwater supply. So the California Department of Water Resources is in charge of that system. And certainly the water agencies are making inquiries and pushing DWR towards answering questions on those water allocations. So we would be doing that through primarily Metropolitan Water District, which is our advocate for trying to obtain the maximum possible allocations that we can from the state. So that is underway. And as I said, the state is managing that, and they're trying to manage it in a way that's sustainable for urban populations, for agriculture, and for the environment. And when we say the environment, I know there's a lot of focus on the Delta smelt fish, but it's also for, as I said, for inundation purposes, and also just recognizing that the fish that are supported in the region or in the Delta are an important part of the food chain for the entire ocean. So one cannot just eliminate a part of that food chain and expect the rest of the ocean ecology system to survive without that. So there's a lot of thought that goes into that, but that's certainly something that we're working with the state on how they're allocating that water. But as I said, mostly that comes through us to Callegas and then to Metropolitan, because they're the agency that's dealing directly with that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Cox. We have a question from Nilima Firth, and she's asking, looking to the future, are you going to provide any support for residents to collect and store rainwater?
So residents have that ability through rain barrels. We actually have subsidies for rain barrels at people's properties. The problem is, of course, that our climate is not terribly conducive for that. Those kinds of measures happen better where you get intermittent rain throughout the year, and you can store rain from one month to the next month. But here, all of our rain, for whatever it is, comes in 1 or 2 months, and then it's not really very feasible on an individual property level to store that water for the rest of the year. You would need tens of thousands of gallons of storage. And so to the extent that it can be used, there is the availability of rain barrels, and certainly that can save, several hundred gallons. But when you don't get rain between, January or December and October, that amount of rain that you can collect is only going to work for a day, a week, perhaps. On an individual property, it's really hard to store enough water to get you through more than a week.
I'm going through the questions and kind of gathering them together, but one particular came up is saying the reason behind, or why are we allowing the water of golf courses?
So, like any other recreation area, we're trying to preserve those assets for the public, for the community. As I said, we're restricting the watering there to 2 days a week, and it's just on the fairways and the greens. So again, it's a public resource. One could pick out any segment of the recreation, whether it's soccer players or baseball players or schools or whatever. The idea is to try to preserve as many recreational opportunities as possible. The other thing is that once you kill that grass, you can't just start watering it again and have it come back. So it's the preservation of that long-term investment for the community that's also important, because if we let all the grass on those courses die, it's millions and millions of dollars to restore it.
Thank you. From Frank G, a guest on our webinar today, he states, in recorded history, California has had repeated periods of severe drought. The situation was not just possible, the situation was not just possible, but not probable. Yet the state has done nothing for decades to prepare for this day. We have been in a state of emergency for 2 years for COVID. Why hasn't the governor announced a state of emergency for water, fast track new projects, stop growing on non-essential agricultural crops, etc.? The state has a $95 billion surplus. Why not use some of that money to pay not to grow crops so workers in those industries don't suffer?
So that's probably a question that's better directed at the state themselves, or at our state representatives. And I would say that it's not that nothing has happened. Things have happened. There have been a lot of measures, both from metropolitan and at a local level, to increase our water supply. Metropolitan has invested something like $1.5 billion over the past few years in water efficiency measures, in storage expansion, and overall system upgrades. And so things are happening. They have done new storage. There have been new delivery connection systems. Part of it is trying to connect us to other systems so that we have more resilience, and that's been happening throughout the region. I know that the Twin Tunnels project from the state has been hung up for various reasons for decades now. Metropolitan was trying to push that through as a Twin Tunnels project and had pushback from the agriculture region. So they're now down to one tunnel as a result of the lack of support from the agricultural users. So again, those are large political decisions that require many, many parties to invest because of the cost of those systems, and they are moving ahead. Some of that is slower than we might like to see. But again, between Metropolitan, Callegas, and local systems, people have been investing. They're just big projects that take a long time.
We have a guest that is asking, what would be better, drought-resistant plants or native plants, or no plants right now?
So I was recommending no plantings right now because most plants, or all plants, are going to take some water to get them started. the best plants to plant here are native plants. And the reason is not just because they use the least amount of water, but their water use patterns also match our precipitation patterns. So the difference between drought tolerant and native plants is that drought tolerant plants can survive on little water, but they need that water all year, just like your regular ornamental plants do. They just need less of it. Native plants, on the other hand, are climate adapted to need less water in summer and need more water when there's natural water, i.e. rainfall in the winter. So they're better for that region. For that reason, they're adapted for our particular climate, and they can actually survive with no water at all. Though, as I said, planting them in summer isn't ideal because they all need a little bit just to get their root systems established.
And a quick follow-up question from our same guest. I hear a lot of people capture water from their showers. Is there a container, bucket, or system that works best for this? Any recommendations? Our showers are upstairs and don't want anything too heavy and cumbersome to haul downstairs and outside.
Yeah, the weight of water is a problem for many different reasons. It's heavy to carry gallons, 5-gallon buckets and things. There's a device I've seen that's called like a shower flower, I think it's called, that has like an opening that can funnel the water from the shower into a bottle or container. But even so, you still have to carry that container downstairs. I don't know how one would necessarily avoid that. Unless you actually have dual plumbing in your house or have your house plumbed, with a second set of waste pipes to be able to do that kind of proper gray water recycling. But otherwise, capturing all the water you can, wash water. The easiest water to recycle is usually from the laundry. You can run your laundry drain directly outside onto your planting areas. And if you use the right soaps, biodegradable, etc., then you can irrigate directly from a laundry line. That's usually the easiest and most cost effective, but otherwise, it's basically carrying water.
Okay. So from one of our other guests in attendance, residents that already use water wisely and frugally, are they now being punished because they are not lowering their usage by 40%?
So nobody's being punished in the sense that we don't have, there's no increase in rates, right? So nobody's paying any more for water. The way that one might interpret that is if we were to have a complete ban, for example, that everybody would suffer. That's true. So what we're really trying to do is we're focusing on high water users, and that's where the enforcement is being focused. So from that standpoint, we're trying to make it equitable. We want everybody on the same foot here. We want everybody to be saving equally, though we do not have individual water targets on an individual property level. So there's no, as I said, when you say punished, there isn't anything in place right now that's really punishing. The fines are going to the violators. So as long as you're not violating, then you're not subject to those.
Let's see. Will residents abiding by the rules and cutting their water use significantly be subject to potential upcoming outdoor watering ban in September because of other bad actors? Is there any way to only consider this ban for those not saving water versus those that are? It seems unfair to residents who have cut back significantly. So
interestingly, at this point, it's not clear how that ban determination is going to be made. Callejas is pushing Metropolitan to make that decision on a region-wide basis. Region-wide being everywhere that Metropolitan serves with State Water Project water. And the reason for that is that our area, the Callejas service area, is not doing as well as the rest of the service area, which would be Los Angeles, Eastern LA, San Fernando Valley, some other areas. So we are actually exceeding our target. Some other areas are not exceeding the target. And there are reasons for that. Those other areas have supplemental groundwater that we don't have here. So it's not it's not that they're necessarily saving more water, but they're saving more state water project water, which is what counts. So if the determination is made as a region, as a whole, we would actually benefit from that. If it's not, and it's made on a district level, it would be made based on the whole of Callegas, most likely, rather than individual water agency. But again, that has not yet been determined. So to some extent, it would benefit us if it was the whole metropolitan region. If it comes down to the individual water agency, then we would be exceeding our target right now. I'm not sure how we would be able to do that on an individual parcel level, because we do not have parcel-based budgets. So a budget for, we don't have property-based budgets, and we don't have systems in place to be able to do that at the current time. That is something that certainly the city will be exploring for the future.
Right. Another question just came in. Couple of questions for our webinar today. Can we use recycled water for landscape and water features, and any recommendations? And I've got a couple of questions. We've got a couple of questions regarding gray water. Any recommendations on gray water systems for commercial and or residential?
So I'm not sure where people would get recycled water from. We don't have a source for that because we don't have a groundwater source here. There are some areas connected to the Triumpho district further out, kind of in the North Ranch area, where we are using reclaimed water, the purple pipe water, wherever that's possible. But for most of the city, it does not have access. So of course, on a personal level, if one wants to recycle water and use, as we already discussed, laundry water, shower water, etc., on your own property, then one can do that. With regard to gray water systems are quite expensive to install in existing homes. And the reason being that you need two sets of waste pipes, the sewer lines, you need to separate your toilet from your shower, from your kitchen waste, etc. So your house would have to have two sets of plumbing. And of course, for the most part, existing homes do not have that, though of course, on an individual property level, people are free to make that investment if they choose to. If they do, then you can purchase filtration systems that will treat that water for recycling and for use for irrigation purposes. And that's on a commercial level. There are commercial level schemes that do the same thing. Again, it's much more expensive to do existing buildings than to put that into new buildings in which you can do that dual plumbing during the construction process.
Wonderful. And before I read the next question, just as a reminder, we are recording this webinar today, so we'll be able to share that link with our attendees, or if there's anyone that wasn't unable to attend, we can also share that link as well. One question here, are high efficiency spray nozzles or rotaries allowed on steep, large slopes planted in with trees and on ground cover?
Sorry, I just lost, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, definitely.
I just lost my camera. I'm not sure what happened. So so drip irrigation in general is required. There are exceptions where you do have steep slopes. I think we've defined that as 20% or more, where you have existing ground cover that cannot be efficiently watered using that drip system. In general, we want to replace spray systems with drip as far as that is feasible. However, there are some circumstances where that's not really feasible. So in those circumstances, as I said, on slopes where there's ground cover, people can use spray sprinklers.
This question addresses or asks about infrastructure projects underway. Are there any big or large infrastructure projects underway enough to be operational within the next decade in our area, or will the only tools be conservation or rain, snow?
So there are some projects that are underway. We've done a groundwater feasibility study using the Los Robles golf course well. So that is kind of moving ahead in that, well, we went through the pilot study. We're looking at where that water needs to be treated because it's very poor quality and has lots of salts. So really what the next phase of that is investigating where that water would be treated, whether to build our own treatment facility on site or whether to connect possibly to the Las Virgenes one. So that study is undergoing. The city just signed an MOU with that water district so that we can work together on those solutions and how to use their treatment plant that's available for that water district. So that's something that I don't know what the timeline would be for actual construction, but that's certainly something that's ongoing right now that we hope will become a reality.
And there was a question that came in about how the violations are identified, and it came in after you addressed this in your presentation. Can you just briefly recap with regards to how violations are identified, the runoff, water use identified by computer, green lawns, et cetera? So if you could just quickly readdress that.
So violations are only issued when there's an observation. So that would be an observation of sprinklers, irrigation systems running on the wrong day, the wrong time, excess water runoff onto the pavement, etc. So when we have those observations, that's when, and that's the waterways patrol that we have overnight, and also our own staff that are patrolling. So the violations are issued as a result of direct observation. In addition, we do have people report in on, my neighbor watered, I see this thing happening at this time of day, etc. In those cases, we tag those in our system so that we can follow up ourselves. We do issue warnings to those people to let them know that there has been a reported observation, though the observer is not disclosed. It's just an education piece for that resident to let them know that which water restrictions are enforced and to adhere to those. Once those people are on our radar, it may be that the waste patrol goes by those at some other time, and if there's a violation observed, then at that point they would be issued a violation. But people are not being issued violations or citations based on hearsay or resident reports of green lawns. There has to actually be an observation for that to happen.
One of our guests, Tom, has asked, how are we doing currently on our cutting back? I just shared in chat that we just got our statement from the city yesterday for our May through June, and putting into effect cutting off our irrigation starting June 1, and putting in lava rock and stone as part of our new front lawn. And with capturing shower water as it's warming up, et cetera, we happily saw that we reduced our water consumption by nearly 6,000 gallons in just 1 month. So it's amazing how quickly we can see that resulting conservation. So how are we doing in general on cutting back?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, that people are really surprised when they make the changes, how much by stopping watering your lawn, a lot of people are saving both 50% of their water use and also 50% of the cost, obviously. Mm-hmm. So they've really seen some great savings. For the city as a whole, for the month of June, which is the last complete month that we have data for, we saved about 30% versus June of last year and June of 2020.
Let's see. From another one of our guests, some final questions here. Is our local tap water safe to drink, or should it be filtered? Bottled water is so expensive and also contributes to drought and damages to the environment.
Yes, I would hope that people are drinking the local tap water. So the local tap water is where I just described. It comes from the snow melt in the northern Sierra Nevada mountains, which is about the purest water that you can get. Some other cities rely more on groundwater, which has a lot of salts and has to be treated, and the contaminants have to be treated for. But we get fresh snowmelt water. It's about the purest best tasting water you can get. In fact, they did some taste tests across the United States. And I think this area, the Metropolitan Water from the State Water Project, placed like second overall in the nation for the best tasting water. So it's pretty hard to beat. And there is absolutely no reason that you need to be buying bottled water. In fact, sometimes bottled water is worse quality because it's groundwater, or it can be. So yes, there's no reason to be using plastic and generating all of that waste and drinking bottled water.
Okay, we are at about 12:45, so a couple more questions coming through. One is, do you, maybe this is more of a state and or larger scale question, but scientists on staff that can research the possibilities for saline plants and future possible solutions?
Sorry, like desalination?
Desalination plants, right.
So there have been studies done on desalination plants, and Santa Barbara built one a few decades ago, and actually it wound up being mothballed because there wasn't a demand for it. The problem with the desalination plant, well, there's several problems, but they're very, very expensive to run, not only to construct in the first place, but to operate them, because they use a large amount of energy to treat the water, huge amount of energy. So the ongoing cost for operation would mean that the water cost to the customer will probably be about twice what we pay for water now. So what can happen is that during times of drought, people scramble and build a desal plant, and then they'll start trying to sell that water at cost, and people would rather conserve water than pay twice as much for it, in essence. So they're very expensive, besides which there are lots of obstacles to their construction, including the environmental considerations that have to be made. There's a lot of entrapment of sea creatures, fish, etc. They have to deal with that. And then the effluent, once the salt water is treated, that briny water, that's the salts that come out, has to be disposed of, and you can't just dump it back in the ocean where you got the water from originally, because it would kill off all the aquatic life. So there are a lot of environmental considerations that make it difficult, and also it's very expensive. So desalination is definitely something that would be on the table like any other solution, but it's probably not the most economical or the most feasible of the possibilities.
And two final questions. I'll read the first one and then follow it up with regards to recycled water being transported to projects via truck and recommendations on gray water systems. But pre to that, is hand watering still advised for targeted watering?
So we do allow hand watering of trees and shrubs as necessary to keep them alive. So the hand watering is not kind of just indiscriminate watering to supplement what would normally be provided through an irrigation system. The hand watering provision is there so that people don't let their trees die, in essence. So if your tree is starting to look drought stressed for any reason, and it's probably too early for that to happen, most trees in this region, if they're climate appropriate trees, they should be able to survive on 1 day a week watering. But if for any reason your trees are showing signs of stress, then you can supplement that with hand watering on other days.
And then, and finally, what if we were able to bring recycled water to the property with trucks, and any recommendations on vendors for gray water systems?
I don't have any recommendations for specific vendors for gray water systems. We do have a web page on the Thousand Oaks. If you go to the sustainability site, which is toaks.org/go green. If you go to that site, there are links under the water page to gray water resources. So there's information and resources there. As regarding to trucking recycled water into the region, yes, if you have access to it from somewhere else, I'm not sure where that would be, then people are certainly can do that and use that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Cox. We really appreciate your time today and sharing the information. As I mentioned, we have the recording. We will have that link available to disseminate to our attendees today, or for our attendees, if you have anyone that you know that was unable to attend, we can share that link, as well as the presentation itself. So again, we want to thank Dr. Helen Cox with the City of Los Angeles. City of Thousand Oaks. Spent 20 years in Los Angeles, so I apologize for that. And thank you all for attending today. And again, if you have any questions or need additional information, of course, go to www.tooakswater.org. And again, if you have any questions, you can email me at cgiordano@conejochamber.org, and I can share the link as well as the presentation slides from today. Thank you, Dr. Cox. Thank you to the entire team with the City of Thousand Oaks. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much.